Welcome back, everybody. Today, we're going to be taking a deep dive into some really fascinating research
Cool.
from Harvard Business School. And it might change how you think about motivation at work. You know those
Interesting.
small wins that we all have?
Yeah.
It turns out they're way more powerful than you might think.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, we always
So we're diving into
yeah.
the progress principle,
Yeah.
using small wins to ignite joy, engagement, and creativity at work by Teresa Emma Bill and Steve Kramer.
Okay.
So what's the core idea here?
Well, the book highlights a simple but pretty profound concept, which is that making progress in meaningful work, even in small increments, it can dramatically impact how we feel about our jobs.
Okay.
And it's not just about, feeling good,
Yeah.
this positive inner work life, as they call it. It's linked to tangible benefits like improved performance,
Great.
increased creativity, and even reduced turnover.
Wow. So it's not just a temporary mood boost. It actually impacts the bottom line. I'm curious, how did they figure this out? Did they just ask people how they felt?
Well, it wasn't just like casual observation.
Yeah.
They meticulously analyzed nearly 12,000 diary entries from 238 employees across 7 different companies.
Wow.
These were real people documenting their daily work experiences, giving us a really rich data set to understand the dynamics of motivation and progress.
12,000 diary entries. That's impressive.
It is a lot.
So what did all this data reveal? What makes those small wins so potent?
Well, the research uncovered 2 key factors that contribute to this positive inner work life.
Okay.
First, you have what they call catalysts.
Okay.
Elements that directly facilitate your work, such as having clear goals, a degree of autonomy, and the right resources at your disposal.
Okay.
Think of these as the building blocks for progress.
So you've got the foundation set with those catalysts.
Right,
What about the other factor? You mentioned there were two, right?
right. The second factor is what they term nourishers. The positive interactions with colleagues and managers that create a supportive and encouraging work environment.
Right.
Think about things like receiving recognition for your efforts, feeling respected by your peers,
Yeah.
or simply having a sense of camaraderie within your team.
The human element.
Yeah.
It makes sense that feeling supported and valued would amplify those positive feelings when you are making progress.
For sure.
But is it really that simple? Can a quick pat on the back really make that much of a difference?
You might be surprised. The research found that even seemingly small gestures of appreciation, like a boss acknowledging your hard work or a teammate offering a helping hand,
Yeah.
can have a significant impact on someone's day and overall motivation.
Okay.
It's about feeling seen and appreciated for your contributions.
So it's not just about hitting milestones. It's about feeling good about the journey along the way.
Yeah.
And I'm sure some folks are thinking, okay, this all sounds great, but how do we actually apply this in the real world? Is this just a nice theory, or are there concrete steps we can take?
Well, that's where it gets really exciting. The book doesn't just present a theory,
Right.
it provides practical strategies for cultivating these catalysts and nourishers within the workplace.
Okay.
It's about creating a culture that fuels both progress and a sense of support.
So it sounds like managers have a pretty big role to play here. They're not just taskmasters.
Hmm.
They're responsible for fostering an environment where those small wins can flourish and people feel motivated to achieve them.
Absolutely. And that's where we'll dig in next.
Cool.
We'll explore how managers can create the conditions for both catalysts and nourishers to thrive,
Right.
ultimately creating a more positive and productive work environment for everyone.
All right. I'm ready to unpack those management strategies. But first, let's take a moment to reflect on your own experiences.
Yeah.
Think about a time when you felt truly energized and engaged at work.
Yeah.
What were the elements at play? Were you making progress, experiencing those small wins?
Yeah.
Did you feel supported by those around you?
It's a powerful question to consider. Often when we dissect those moments of peak motivation,
Yeah.
we find a potent combination of personal progress and a supportive environment.
Right.
It's the magic formula for unlocking our best work.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we've established that small wins are crucial, and
Yep.
they work best when paired with a supportive environment. But here's a question that popped into my head. Doesn't this whole progress principle thing go against how a lot of workplaces operate?
Mm.
I mean, so many companies focus on those big splashy rewards, promotions, bonuses, Employee of the Month awards.
Yeah, you've hit on a crucial point. The traditional model often emphasizes those external motivators, assuming they're the key drivers of performance. But what's fascinating is that The progress principle suggests those very rewards can sometimes backfire.
Backfire.
Oh,
How so? I mean, who doesn't love a bonus?
of course, financial rewards have their place, but relying on them too heavily can create a culture of competition and anxiety rather than one of collaboration and genuine engagement. People start focusing solely on the reward, not the intrinsic value of the work itself.
So it becomes transactional. You do the work, you get the reward, and that's it. There's no deeper sense of fulfillment or connection to the bigger picture.
Precisely. And that's where the power of small wins comes in. It shifts the focus from external validation to internal satisfaction. It's about recognizing and celebrating the incremental progress we make each day, regardless of whether someone else notices or rewards it.
That's a really empowering idea. It means we have more control over our own motivation than we might think. We don't have to wait for someone else to give us permission to feel good about our work.
Exactly. It's about taking ownership of our progress and finding joy in the journey, not just the destination. And this is where the idea of breaking down large tasks into smaller, more manageable steps comes into play. Each step completed becomes a mini victory, a source of motivation to keep moving forward.
It's like giving yourself those little dopamine hits throughout the day rather than waiting for one big reward at the end. And I bet that can make a big difference when you're facing a particularly daunting project.
Absolutely. It's about building momentum through those small wins. And it's not just about powering through tasks, it's about acknowledging and appreciating those wins, even if they seem insignificant to others.
It's almost like giving yourself permission to feel good about your work, to celebrate your own progress, even if it's just a small step.
And you know that positive energy can be contagious. When you're feeling good about your work, you're more likely to be helpful, collaborative, and even more creative. It creates a ripple effect of positive energy that benefits the whole team.
It's a win-win for everyone.
Hmm.
Now, I'm sure some listeners are thinking, okay, this sounds great in theory, but what about those days when nothing seems to go right? You know, those days when you hit a wall, you're stuck on a problem, or maybe you're dealing with a difficult colleague. How does the progress principle work then?
Yeah, those days are inevitable, right? We all have them. But the key is to remember that even on the toughest days, we still have control over our own mindset and actions.
So it's about finding those little glimmers of progress, even when things feel challenging.
Exactly. It could be something as simple as finally clearing out your inbox, finishing that one nagging task you've been putting off, or simply helping a colleague with a problem. Even small actions can shift your perspective and end the day on a more positive note.
It's about finding those little wins wherever you can and not being afraid to ask for help when you need it. Because ultimately, those nourishers, that support from colleagues and managers, are just as crucial as the progress itself.
Absolutely. Don't underestimate the power of reaching out to a colleague, a mentor, or even your manager. Sometimes just talking through a problem can help you see things in a new light and find a path forward. It's a reminder that we don't have to go it alone.
That's such a great point. Now, we've talked a lot about the individual experience of the progress principle, but I'm curious to hear more about how this plays out at the management level. What can managers do to create this kind of positive, progress-focused environment for their teams?
Well, the first step is simply awareness. Managers need to understand the power of small wins and how profoundly they impact employee morale and performance. It's a shift in perspective from focusing solely on outcomes to valuing and celebrating the process of getting there.
So it's not enough to just set big goals and dangle rewards. It's about actively supporting the team's progress along the way. But what does that actually look like in practice?
It starts with clarity. Managers need to provide clear goals and expectations so their teams know what they're working towards. And it's not just about setting the target, it's about breaking down those goals into smaller, achievable milestones, making the path to success feel more manageable and motivating.
Right, it goes back to those mini wins we were talking about. But goals and milestones are only part of the equation. What about the nourisher piece, that sense of support and encouragement? How can managers cultivate that?
That's where regular feedback and recognition come in. And I'm not just talking about annual reviews or those big Employee of the Month announcements. It's about acknowledging those everyday wins, those small steps forward that often go unnoticed.
So a simple thank you for a job well done, or a quick email acknowledging someone's effort can go a long way.
Absolutely. It's about creating a culture where people feel valued and appreciated for their contributions, no matter how small they might seem. It's about celebrating the journey, not just the destination.
It sounds like it's about shifting the whole mindset around work. It's not just about grinding through tasks. It's about recognizing and celebrating the progress we make along the way, both individually and as a team.
And when that happens, it creates a ripple effect of positive energy. People are more engaged, more creative, and more committed to their work.
Hmm.
It's amazing how something as simple as focusing on progress can have such a profound impact on the entire workplace culture.
It's a powerful reminder that even the smallest actions can make a big difference. And that's something we can all take to heart, whether we're leading a team or simply navigating our own work lives.
Absolutely. It's about finding those small wins, celebrating them, and using them to fuel our motivation and passion for what we do.
Wow, we've covered a lot of ground today, unpacking the power of small wins and how they can transform our experience of work.
Yeah, it has been a fascinating discussion and hopefully one that's sparked some new ideas for you.
You know, it's funny how something so seemingly simple, like acknowledging and celebrating progress, can have such a profound impact on our motivation and well-being.
Yeah, it's a reminder that sometimes the most powerful solutions are the ones we tend to overlook.
Hmm. Before we wrap things up, is there anything else from the progress principle that you think our listeners should take away from this deep dive?
Well, the book really emphasizes that creating a culture of progress isn't like a one-time fix.
Uh-huh.
It's an ongoing
It's
process.
about weaving those principles into the fabric of how we work day in and day out.
Exactly. And that requires conscious effort and a willingness to experiment with different approaches to see what works best for, your team and your individual work style.
It's like any new habit.
Yeah.
It takes time and practice to make it stick.
Yeah. Right. And it's not always going to be perfect. There will be days when progress feels elusive, and those nourishers might be harder to come by. But the key is to keep those principles top of mind and to keep striving to create a work environment where both progress and support are the norm.
It's about embracing the journey, the ups and downs, and recognizing that progress isn't always linear.
Exactly. And it's about being kind to ourselves and to those we work with, recognizing that we're all on this journey together.
Now, I'd love to leave our listener with a little something to ponder as they continue their own deep dive into the power of small wins. What's one question you'd encourage them to ask themselves as they reflect on what we've discussed today?
Okay, here's a question to spark some reflection. What's one small step you can take today to create a sense of progress in your own work? And it doesn't have to be anything monumental. Maybe it's tackling a task you've been putting off or brainstorming some fresh ideas for a project. The key is to make some forward momentum, however small it might seem.
It's about taking action, putting these principles into practice, and seeing how they can transform your experience of work.
And here's a bonus question to consider. How can you help someone else experience a small win this week? Maybe it's offering a colleague some support, giving someone a well-deserved compliment, or simply acknowledging their hard work. Remember, those nourishers are just as important as the catalyst when it comes to fostering a positive and productive work environment.
It's amazing how something as simple as a kind word or a gesture of support can make someone's day and fuel their motivation.
Absolutely. By focusing on both progress and support, we can create a ripple effect of positive energy that spreads throughout our workplaces and beyond.
So there you have it, folks, the power of small wins unlocked. Don't underestimate those little moments of progress. They can make a huge difference in your own work life and the lives of those around you. Keep diving deeper, and we'll catch you next time on The Deep Dive.